Good morning, sir. This is my video report about forensic chemistry and toxicology. My topic today is all about scientific evidence. Scientific evidence is a proof of allegation. It is a means sanctioned by law of asserting in a judicial proceeding the truth respecting a matter of fact. Section Rule Number 128 Revised Rules on Evidence. Corollary theory scientific evidence may be defined as the means matter of fact wherein scientific knowledge is necessary, such as scientific evidence must have such relation to the fact in issue as to induce belief in its existence or non-existence. Evidence on collateral matters shall not be allowed except when it finds in any reasonable degree to establish the probability of improbability of the fact in issue. Evidence may be direct, indirect, which includes circumstantial evidence, hearsay. This is three classification of evidence: direct evidence, circumstantial evidence, and hearsay evidence. The first is direct evidence. Direct evidence is that which the sense perceive any fact to which a witness satisfied based on the what he saw, heard, smell, touch, or taste is direct. Crime are done secretly. Usually the perpetrator seeks darkness and remoteness in order to cover his misdeeds, and in most cases no witness is present at the scene of the crime. Or even if there is, our witness is he, they, initial, hence it is necessary to use all other available modes of proceeding evidence in order to establish and prove of case in court. Circumstantial evidence is a kind of evidence which seeks to establish a conclusion by inference from the facts proven. While a policeman was patrolling, he heard a scream from a house. He immediately proceeded to the house, and there he saw a man coming out of the house carrying a bloody knife. The policeman arrested the man and subsequently entered the house. There he saw a female cadaver flying on the floor with a stab wound on the breast. In that case, the only direct evidence to which the policeman can testify would be to the fact that he saw the man with a bloody knife coming out of the house where the scream came from. The prosecutor may establish a conclusion that the man with the bloody knife is the criminal by inference from the facts tested to the policeman. Under the present law, circumstantial evidence is sufficient for conviction if there are three facts. Number one is there is more than one circumstances. Number two is the fact from which the influence are derived are proven. Number three is the combination of all the circumstances is such as to produce conviction beyond reasonable doubt. Number three is hearsay evidence. Hearsay evidence is a statement made by a witness on the authority of another and not from his own personal knowledge or observation. Hearsay evidence is admissible except on the following: dying declaration, rest, guest, declaration against interest, act, or declaration about pedigree, family reputation, or tradition regarding pedigree, common reputation, part of res gesti, interest in the course of business, interest in official records, learned retest, and testimony or deposition of a former proceeding. Forms of scientific evidence: real or autoptic evidence is that evidence which is addressed to the sense of the court. It is not limited to that which can be known by the sense of vision, but extend to those which are perceived by the sense of hearing, taste, smell, or touch. Testimony, testimonial evidence. Testimonial evidence, an expert may be called on the witness stand to answer all questions propounded by the both parties in the case. Documentary evidence. Documentary evidence, any written evidence presented by an expert in court which is relevant to the subject matter and dispute and not included by the rules of court. Formal written report, expert opinion, scientific and dispositions are included in this group. The investigator is fact finder. It is basic that he must know the laws concerning the nature of his investigation. He should procedure evidence in such a way that the findings can be admitted in court and remain unforgettable against any attack by the opposing counsel. He should be in constant contact with various investigate the enforcement agencies. Witness. A witness in court may be an ordinary or expert witness. Under the law, an ordinary witness must have the following qualification. Number 1, he must have the organ and power to perceive. Number 2, perceiving can make known his perception to others. Number 3, he does not fall in any of the exception provided for by law. Number 1, 2, 3, rules of court. The opinion of a witness regarding a question of sense, art, or trade where he is skilled therein may be received in evidence. This kind of evidence is called the testimony of an expert witness. Ordinary witness and expert witness. Ordinary witness can only state what he since have perceived. An expert witness is state what he has perceived and also give his opinion, deductions, or conclusions to his perception. Ordinary witness may not be killed or in the line he is satisfying. Expert witness must be skilled in the art, science, or trade he is satisfying. And ordinary witness number 3 is cannot satisfy on things or fact he has not perceived expert, those provided for by the law. And expert witness is he has not seen by giving his opinions, discussions, or conclusions on the statement of facts. Probative value of expert testimony. Whether courts are or not bound by the testimony of an expert depends upon the nature of the subject of inquiry. If the subject of inquiry comes within the general knowledge of the judge, that latter will not be bound by the conclusion of the expert. For instance, when the subject of inquiry is guidance of handwriting as compared to a standard. Paras v. Narcisio 35 Philippines 244, Dolor v. Janak 55 Philippines 497. However, when the subject of inquiry is of such a nature that a layman can have no knowledge thereof, as for instance, the determination of parentage through DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid test. The court must depend on the result of examination of an expert. Qualification of an expert witness. Number one, the degree of learning of the witness. Number two, the basis and logical of his conclusion. And number three is the other proof of case. Drugs. Drug is a chemical substances that brings about physical, psychological, behavioral, and or psychological change in a person taking it. All medicine are drugs, but not all drugs are medicine drugs. Medical medicinal drugs, a substance which when taken into the human body cause illness or relieves signs symptoms of disease. Dangerous drugs, a substance affecting the central nervous system with which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral change in a person taking it. Drug abuse. Any non-medical use of drugs that cause physical, psychological, legal, economic, or social damage to the user or to people affected by the user's behavior. Abuse usually refers to illegal drugs but may also be applicable to drugs that are available legally, such as prescribed medication and certain over-the-counter medications. Classification of drugs. Uh, Number one, natural drugs are effective ingredients, secondary metabolic products of plants and other living systems that may be isolated by extraction. Examples is uh, raw opium, marijuana, coca bush. Synthetic drugs are artificially produced substance synthesized in the laboratory for the illicit market, which are almost fully manufactured from the chemical compounds in illicit laboratories. Example, ma, methamphetamine, barbiturates. According to legal classification, RA 9165, Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002, PB 1612, Volatile Substances, and under RA 9165, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. The term prohibited and deregulate was changed into dangerous drugs with the following classification. Immediate precursors, a chemical substance used in the clandestine manufacturing process becomes incorporated in full or in part into the final molecules of controlled substances. Initial chemicals. Chemical substances used are reagent of solvent in the illegal manufacture of controlled substance. Narcotic, psychotropic, and designer. According to international classification, narcotic substance, psychotic substance, designer drugs. According to pharmacological classification, stimulants, hallucinogens, depressant, enhanced stimulants are drugs which increase alertness of physical disposition. Example, amphetamine, street name, opener, lead proppers, pip pills, uppers, hurts. What it is? Reduce appetite, relieves mental depression, comfort, fatigue, and sleepiness. How taken? Orally as tablet of couples. Effect: general wakefulness, increased alertness, initiative. Toxic: from restlessness to coma and death. Dangers: dependence, overdose, violent, bizarre behavior. Example, shabu, methamphetamine, hydrochloride. Street name, performance, and should was effect, general, excitedly, irritable, irration behavior. Long-term psychosis similar to schizophrenia, difficulty is concentrating, loss affected 6. Physical, chest pain, irregular heartbeat, hypertension, convulsion, death. Dangers, injection from contaminated needles may lead to risk of infection, phlebitis, emphysema, AIDS. Hallucinogens are drugs which affect sensation, thinking, self-awareness, and emotion. Change in the time and space perception, delirious, false defeat, and hallucination may be mild or overwhelming depending on the quality of drugs. Example, ecstasy, street name, Adamson's herbals, how taken, swallowing, and or inhalation effect. Exaggerated emotions make her and BP hike up, dries the mouth, stiffens arms, legs, jaws, dilates pupils in the eyes, causes faintness, chills, sweating, and nausea. Danger, it can really kill. Street name, Luxy in the sky with diamonds, wedding bells, acid, white, sugar, lightning, cubes, brain, ethers. What it is? A semi-synthetic alkaloid substance extract from a fungus which grows on eye with and other grains odorless, tasteless, colorless. Effect: psychological, vivid hallucination, confusion, blurring and distinction between conscious and unconscious. Through physical, dilate, pupils, flush face, increase BP. Dangers may cause abnormal amount of breakage of chromosome of WBS that carry gains which may result the miscarriage and birth defects. Example, marijuana. Street name, Mary Jane. Flower, pampapogi. Brownness, damo. Hot, tea. Joint duck. What it is? Comes from cannabis, stevia, India, hemp, look like found green tobacco. How taken? Smoke in pipes. Cigarettes can be taken in food, made into candy, sniffed in powder form, mixed with the honey or butter. Effect: immediate faster heartbeat, bloodshot eyes, dry mouth. Long term: chest pain, temporary loss of fertility, cancer, marijuana born out. Dangers: slow down users' mental and psychomotor activities. Long-term use may lead psychological dependence, may lead a cancer. Depressed are drugs which depress or lower the functions of the central nervous system. Types of depressant. Narcotics, a drug which induce sleep, hypotense or stupor and relieve pain. Something that's soft or causes a sensation of mental numbness. This is include opium, opiates, heroin, morphine, and codeine. Tranquilize or substance that reduce excitedly easy tension and relax muscles. Sedation, hypotension, calm that nerves, reduce tension and induce sleep. Example, barbiturates, alcohol. Inhalants. These are the liquid, solid, or mixed substance that has the property of releasing toxic, psychoactive vapors of fumes. Example, solvent, glue, gasoline, kerosene, paint, thinner, naphthalene. Dangerous drug is a substance affecting the central nervous system, which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral changes in a person taking it. It is a substance which when taken into the human body alters mood, perception, feelings, and behavior. Under Republic Act number 6425, other known as the Dangerous Drugs Act number 1972, dangerous drugs are classified into three main categories, namely prohibited drugs, regulated drugs, volit- volatile substance. Prohibited drug, which includes opium and its active components and derivatives such as heroin and punim. Cocaine and its derivatives, principally cocaine, apan, and debate ocane. Hallucine, hallo, hallucinogen, hallucinogenic drugs such as mescaline, lysergic acid, death lemon, and other substances producing similar effects. Indian hemp and its derivatives, all preparation made from any of the foregoing other drugs and chemical preparation with whether natural or scientific with the psychological effects of a narcotic or hallucinogenic drugs as amended by BP 179 dated March 2, 1982. Regulated drugs. Regulated drugs which include self-inducing sedatives such as secobarbital, pinobart, pinobarbital, barbital, amorbarbital, and any the drug which contains a salt or a derivative of a salt, a barbituric acid, in salts, simonar, or salt of an procedures of physical action similar to um, amphetamine and hypothetic drugs such as methacholine, nitropam, or any other compound producing similar psychological effects as aimed by PD numbers 1683, date March 14, 1980. Volatile substance, liquid, solid, or mixed substances having the property of releasing toxic vapors or fumes or any chemical substance which when sniffed, smelt, inhaled, or introduced into the physiological system of the body, produce, induce a condition of intoxication, inebriation, excitement, stupefaction. Republic Act number 9165, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, gives a single definition for prohibited and regulated drugs. The old law defines the term dangerous drugs as pertaining to either prohibited drugs or regulated drugs. Drug dependence means a state of physical dependence on or both on a dangerous drugs arising on a person following administration or use that the drug on an periodic or continuous basis. Characteristics of drug independence. Physical dependence. The body physical system changes until the body needs that particular drug in order to function. Number two, mental or psychological dependence. A need of drug in order to feel good, to get by, or feel normal. Number three is adjucinacracy or side effect. Use refers to the act of injecting intravenously in an intramuscularly or of consuming either by chewing, smoking, sniffing, eating, swallowing, drinking, or other introducing into the psychological system of the body any of the dangerous drugs. Cell means the act of giving a dangerous drug whether for money or any other material consideration. PDEA shall have custody of all dangerous drugs, plan source of dangerous drugs, control prosecutors or initial chemicals as well as instrument, paraphernalia and or laboratory equipment that are confiscated, seized and or surrendered. The apprehending team or the group in custody of the confiscated drugs shall immediately prepare an inventory and photograph to the terms in the presence of the accused or his counsel. A representative from the media on the Department of Justice o DOJ and any elected public official that the items will then be submitted to the PDEA Forensic Laboratory for examination within 24 hours after receiving of the items. The forensic laboratory examiners shall issue of certification of the laboratory's result. The court shall conduct an ocular inspection of the confiscated items within 72 hours after the filing of the criminal case. The PDEA shall then destroy or burn the items in the presence of the accused. A representative from media and DOJ civil society groups and any elected official. However, a representative sample shall be retained after the judgment has been reduced in the criminal case. The trial prosecutor shall inform the Dangerous Drug Board that the case has been terminated and ask permission from the court to turn over the representative sample to the PDEA. Drug identification is a branch of forensic chemistry that deals with the scientific examination of drugs and volatile substance. Drug identification is usually conducted by the forensic chemist, chemical officer to determine the presence of dangerous drug on submitted specimens. The forensic chemist, chemical officer also conduct drug tests on body fluid of suspected drug pushers and issuers to determine the presence of dangerous drugs, metabolites, paraphernalia like smoking pipes, toters, and aluminum foils should also be submitted or examination to determine the presence of dangerous drugs. Form of dangerous drugs. Drugs are in various forms. This includes tablets, capsules, liquid, powder, brick or decks of marijuana, cross leaves, and uprooted plants. Examination of the sample taken from the illegal confiscated dangerous drugs. Method of examination is number 1, qualitative examination. Number 2, quantitative examination. Steps common to, they have 8 steps common to qualitative and quantitative methods. Number 1, selection of method to be used. Number 2, physical test. Number 3, sampling. Number 4, sampling preparation. Number 5, chemical test. Number 6, confirmatory